Please like, share, and subscribe for more stories like this. Liora Voss knew the exact second her life ended. It was 2:14 a.m. on a Thursday in late October, and the neon sign above the door of Midnight Brew flickered like it was having a seizure. She'd been wiping down the espresso machine for the third time that night when the bell above the door didn't just jingle, it shattered the quiet. 4 men entered. 3 in tailored coats that cost more than her rent. 1 in a cheap hoodie, hands already zip-tied, face already bleeding. Behind them came her, Cassandra Moretti. Even people who didn't know the name knew the reputation. Head of the Moretti family, the woman newspapers called untouchable and cops called a ghost. Black leather coat, blood-red lipstick, hair pulled into a low, lethal knot. She moved like gravity bent around her. Liora froze behind the counter, rag dripping forgotten onto her sneakers. The group moved to the farthest booth. The hooded man was forced to his knees between the table and the wall. He started begging immediately. "Please, Cass, I have a daughter. I'll fix it, I swear." "You already fixed it," Cassandra said, voice low, almost bored. "You fixed it when you started skimming from the protection runs and selling routes to the Bianchis. 12 drivers got hit last month. 3 didn't walk away." She pulled a silenced pistol from inside her coat like it weighed nothing. Liora's heart slammed against her ribs. Don't look, don't breathe, don't exist. But she did look. The shot was soft, wet, final. The man slumped sideways, blood spread under the table like spilled coffee. Cassandra turned. Their eyes met across 30 feet of linoleum and 1 flickering fluorescent bulb. For 1 heartbeat, the world stopped. Then Liora ran. She made it 6 steps to the back door before a hand clamped around her wrist and yanked her into the storage hallway. Her shoulder hit the wall. The air punched out of her lungs. Cassandra didn't raise her voice. "You saw." Liora's mouth opened. Nothing came out. "You have a name?" "Liora," she whispered. "Liora Voss." Cassandra studied her like a painting she hadn't decided whether to buy or burn. Bad night to pull a double shift, Liora Voss. She released her wrist, didn't step back. "I didn't see anything," Liora lied. Cassandra's mouth curved. Not a smile, something sharper. "You're a terrible liar. That's going to be a problem." She turned, coat flaring, and walked back toward the dining area. "Clean this up," she told her men, "and make sure the cameras have a very boring night." Then she looked over her shoulder at Liora one last time. "Go home, lock your door, and pretend tonight never happened." Liora didn't move until the bell jingled again and silence returned. She called in sick the next 3 days, but the black Range Rover was already waiting outside her walk-up apartment on Monday morning. It started small. A wad of cash in her mailbox, enough to pay 6 months of rent. A new espresso machine delivered to the café with a note, "For the one you ruined." Her landlord called to say the back rent had mysteriously vanished. Then the flowers arrived at work. Black calla lilies, funeral flowers. The card read only, "Silence is expensive. Keep paying." Liora threw them in the dumpster behind the building. The next day, the same arrangement appeared, fresh, perfect, terrifying. On Friday, her phone buzzed at 3:17 a.m. Unknown number. "Your mother's dialysis appointments are paid for through next year. Consider it goodwill. C." Liora's knees buckled. Her mother hadn't told anyone about the kidney failure except her, not even her coworkers. She deleted the message, blocked the number. A new text arrived 30 seconds later from a different number. "Don't make me buy the dialysis center next." Liora stared at the screen until it blurred. The Range Rover was idling outside her building that night again. This time, the back door opened. Cassandra didn't look at her, just waited. Liora got in. The car smelled like leather and gun oil and expensive perfume. They drove in silence for 20 minutes. When they stopped, it was at a rooftop penthouse overlooking the river. Cassandra finally spoke. "You're still breathing because I allowed it." "I know. You're still breathing because the second I saw fear in your eyes, I also saw something else." Liora swallowed. "What?" "Defiance, buried deep, but there." Cassandra stepped closer. "I collect rare things, Liora. You might be the rarest I've found in years." "I'm not a thing. You will be whatever I decide you are." A pause. "Unless you run, and if you run," Cassandra's voice dropped, "I will find you, and I will make sure you understand exactly how expensive running became." Liora met her eyes. "Then don't make me want to run." Cassandra's laugh was soft, dangerous. "Too late for that, sweetheart." The kidnapping happened 6 weeks later. Liora had almost convinced herself the surveillance had eased. She was wrong. They took her from the alley behind the cafe during her smoke break. Trunk, hood, zip ties, a needle in her neck. She woke strapped to a chair in a basement that smelled like rust and fear. 3 men, Bianchis, she realized when one of them said the name. They wanted Cassandra's shipping routes, her safe houses, her next move. Liora didn't know any of it. They didn't believe her. Fingers first, then ribs. She screamed until her voice gave out. Then the door disintegrated. Gunfire, bodies dropping, blood spray. Cassandra came through the smoke like a nightmare wearing Armani. She didn't speak until every Bianchi in the room was dead or dying. Then she knelt before Liora, cut the ties, lifted her like she weighed nothing. "I've got you," she whispered against Liora's hair. "I've got you." Later, in a safe house medical room, while Liora's ribs were taped and her split lip was cleaned, Cassandra sat beside the bed. "You didn't talk." "I didn't know anything to say." "You still screamed my name once." Liora looked away. "A habit." Cassandra caught her chin, gentle, lethal. "They'll never touch you again. I swear it on every grave I filled." Liora's voice cracked. "I hate that I believe you." "I know." A long silence. Then Cassandra exhaled, almost like the sound of something long buried cracking open. "Do you want to know why I didn't kill you that night in the cafe? Why I let a witness walk when every rule I've lived by says eliminate the risk?" Liora nodded, barely breathing. Cassandra's gaze drifted to the window, to the dark city beyond. For once, she didn't look untouchable. "I wasn't born into this like most think. My father was Haitian, came here with nothing but scars, and a daughter he thought he could protect. My mother was Italian, old blood, old money, old grudges. They met when he started running protection for her family's shipments. They fell in love. Stupid, dangerous. When I was 14, the Bianchis wanted the routes my father controlled. They came at night. My mother hid me and my little sister in the crawl space under the floorboards. I heard everything, the shots, the screams, the begging. My father died trying to buy us time. My mother, she fought until they put a bullet in her throat. My sister was 6. They dragged her out anyway. I stayed hidden until morning. When I crawled out, the house was quiet except for the flies.
I found my sister in the kitchen, still breathing, barely. I carried her 3 miles to the nearest clinic on my back. She died in my arms in the waiting room. The nurse said shock and blood loss. I said nothing. I just walked out. That day, I stopped being a girl. I went to my mother's cousins, the Morettis. They took me in because blood is blood, even if it's diluted. But they saw the rage in me. They trained it. By 19, I'd killed the man who pulled the trigger on my sister. By 24, I'd taken the entire Bianchi lieutenant who ordered the hit. By 30, I sat at the head of the table. I built this empire on revenge first, then control. Mercy became a luxury I couldn't afford. Until that night in your café. You saw me execute a traitor.
And your first instinct wasn't to run or beg? You froze, yes, but your eyes, they looked at me like I was still capable of choice, like I wasn't just the monster everyone else saw. No one had looked at me that way since my sister died, believing I'd save her, and I failed her. You reminded me I could still choose not to fail someone else. Leora's throat tightened. Tears burned. So you let me live to prove something to yourself? Cassandra's laugh was soft, broken. To prove I wasn't completely gone. And then you kept proving it back, by staying, by defying me, by looking at the blood on my hands and still seeing something worth saving. She brushed a thumb over Leora's bruised cheek. You're the first crack in the armor I've worn for 20 years. Don't ask me to let you go. I don't know how to anymore. Liora whispered, I hate that part of me doesn't want to leave. Cassandra's thumb brushed her bruised cheekbone. Then don't. Months later, Liora no longer worked the night shift. She had new papers, new accounts, a new last name if she wanted it. She didn't. She carried a slim Beretta in her bag now, small, matte black, a gift from Cassandra after the 3rd assassination attempt on her life failed. She stitched bullet wounds in back rooms, stabilized overdoses in warehouses, delivered babies in safe houses when hospitals weren't safe. She learned which lies kept people alive and which truths got them killed. And every night she came home to the Penthouse, to Cassandra. One dawn, after stitching up a 16-year-old runner who'd taken a knife for refusing to traffic, Liora stood on the balcony watching the city wake. Cassandra joined her, no words at first. Then, do you regret it? Liora didn't look at her. Every morning I wake up and remember who I used to be. A beat. But I'd walk back into that cafe at 2:14 a.m. and make the same choice again. Cassandra turned her gently. Why? Because that night you looked at a dying man and still let me live. Because you burned half the east side looking for me. Because when that kid was bleeding out tonight, you held the light steady while I worked. She touched Cassandra's face, scarred, beautiful, monstrous, hers. Because somewhere between the blood and the threats and the nights I cried myself to sleep, I stopped wanting to run. Cassandra's eyes were wet, something Liora had only seen twice before. I don't know how to be soft, she said quietly. You don't have to be. Liora leaned in, kissed her, slow, certain. You just have to keep choosing me, even when it costs you. Cassandra pulled her close. It already has. They stood there as the sun rose, 2 women forged in violence and mercy, bound by choices neither could undo. Liora whispered against her lips, I love you. God help me, I do. Cassandra smiled, sharp, sad, real. God's not the one who needs to help us anymore. And in that moment, Liora knew. She wasn't trapped. She was home. And that's where their story pauses, for now. What do you think? Did Liora save Cassandra, or did Cassandra finally break her? Drop your thoughts below. Like if you felt that ending in your chest. Subscribe if you want more dark Sapphic Mafia tales. See you in the next one.